lifted the heavy bars of the doors and swung them slowly inwards, grumbling on their great hinges. The travellers entered. Inside it seemed dark and warm after the clear air upon the hill. The hall was long and wide and filled with shadows and half-lights. Mighty pillars upheld its lofty roof, but here and there bright sunbeams fell in glimmering shafts from the eastern windows, high under the deep eaves. Through the louvre in the roof, above the thin wisps of issuing smoke, the sky showed pale and blue. As their eyes changed, the travellers perceived that the floor was paved with stones of many hues. Branching runes and strange devices intertwined beneath their feet. They saw now that the pillars were richly carved, gleaming dully with gold and half-seen colours. Many woven cloths were hung upon the walls, and over their wide spaces marched figures of ancient legend. Some dim with years, some darkling in the shade. But upon one form the sunlight fell, a young man upon a white horse. He was blowing a great horn, and his yellow hair was flying in the wind. The horse's head was lifted, and its nostrils were wide and red as it neighed, smelling battle afar. Foaming water, green and white, rushed and curled about its knees. "Behold, Eol the Young," said Aragorn. "Thus he rode out of the north to the battle of the field of Celebrant." Now the four companions went forward, past the clear wood fire burning upon the long hearth, in the midst of the hall. Then they halted. At the far end of the house, beyond the hearth and facing north towards the doors, was a dais with 3 steps, and in the middle of the dais was a great gilded chair. Upon it sat a man, so bent with age that he seemed almost a dwarf. But his white hair was long and thick and fell in great braids from beneath a thin golden circlet set upon his brow. In the centre upon his forehead shone a single white diamond. His beard was laid like snow upon his knees, but his eyes still burned with a bright light, glinting as he gazed at the strangers. Behind his chair stood a woman clad in white. At his feet upon the steps sat a wizened figure of a man, with a pale white face and heavy-lidded eyes. There was a silence. The old man did not move in his chair. At length Gandalf spoke.
"Hail, Theoden, son of Thengam! I have returned. For behold, the storm comes, and now all friends should gather together, lest each singly be destroyed."
Slowly the old man rose to his feet, leaning heavily upon a short black staff with a handle of white bone. And now the stranger saw that, bent though he was still tall, and must in youth have been high and proud indeed.
"I greet you,"
he said,
"and maybe you look for welcome. But truth to tell, your welcome is doubtful here, Master Gandalf. You have ever been a herald of woe. Troubles follow you like crows, and ever they often are the worse. I will not deceive you. When I heard that Shadowfax had come back riderless, I rejoiced at the return of the horse, but still more at the lack of the rider. And when Eomer brought the tidings that you had gone at last to your long home, I did not mourn. But news from afar is seldom sooth. Here you come again, and with you come evils worse than before, as might be expected. Why should I welcome you, Gandalf Stormcrow? Tell me that."
Slowly he sat down again in his chair.
"You speak justly, Lord,"
said the pale man sitting upon the steps of the dais.
"It is not yet 5 days since the bitter tidings came that Theodred your son was slain upon the west marches. Your right hand, second marshal of the Mark. In Eomer there is little trust. Few men would be left to guard your walls if he had been allowed to rule. And even now we learn from Gondor that the Dark Lord is stirring in the east. Such is the hour in which this wanderer chooses to return. Why indeed should we welcome you, Master Stormcrow? Lath spell I name you. Ill news, and ill news is an ill guest, they say."
He laughed grimly. as he lifted his heavy lids for a moment and gazed upon the strangers with dark eyes.
You are held wise, my friend Wormtongue, and are doubtless a great support to your master,
answered Gandalf in a soft voice.
Yet in two ways may a man come with evil tidings. He may be a worker of evil, or he may be such as leaves well alone and comes only to bring aid in time of need.
That is so,
said Wormtongue.
But there is a third kind. Pickers of bones, meddlers in other men's sorrows, carrion fowl that grow fat on war. What aid have you ever brought, Stormcrow? And what aid do you bring now? It is aid from us that you sought last time that you were here. Then my lord bade you choose any horse that you wouldn't be gone, and to the wonder of all you took Shadowfax in your insolence. My lord was sorely grieved, yet to some it seemed that to speed you from the land the price was not too great. I guess it is likely to turn out the same once more. You will seek aid rather than render it. Do you bring men? Do you bring horses, swords, spears? That I would call aid. That is our present need. But who are these that follow at your tail? 3 ragged wanderers in grey, and you yourself the most beggar-like of the 4.
The courtesy of your hall is somewhat lessened of late, Theoden, son of Thengel,
said Gandalf.
Has not the messenger from your gate reported the names of my companions? Seldom has any lord of Rohan received 3 such guests. Weapons they have laid at your doors that are worth many a mortal man, even the mightiest. Grey is their raiment, for the elves clad them, and thus they have passed through the shadow of great perils to your hall.
Then it is true, as Éomer reported, that you are in league with the sorceress of the Golden Wood,
said Wormtongue.
It is not to be wondered at. Webs of deceit were ever woven in Dwemoldine.
Gimli strode a pace forward, but felt suddenly the hand of Gandalf clutch him by the shoulder, and he halted, standing stiff as stone.
Dwemoldine and Lorien seldom have walked the feet of men. Few mortal eyes have seen the light that lies there ever long and bright. Galadriel, Galadriel, clear as the water of your well, white as the star in your white hand, unmarred, unstained as leaf and land. In Dwemoldine and Lorien, more fair than thoughts of mortal men.
Thus Gandalf softly sang, and then suddenly he changed. Casting his tattered cloak aside, he stood up and leaned no longer on his staff, and he spoke in a clear, cold voice.
The wise speak only of what they know, Grimar, son of Galmon. A witless worm you have become. Therefore be silent, and keep your forked tongue behind your teeth. I have not passed through fire and death to branding crooked words with a serving man to the lightning foes.
He raised his staff. There was a roll of thunder. The sunlight was blotted out from the eastern windows. The whole hall became suddenly dark as night. The fire faded to sullen embers. Only Gandalf stood there, standing white and tall before the blackened hearth. In the gloom they heard the hiss of Wormtongue's voice.
Did I not counsel you, Lord, to forbid his staff? That fool Hammer has betrayed us.
There was a flash as if lightning had cloven the roof. Then all was silent. Wormtongue sprawled on his face.
Now, Theoden, son of Thengel, will you not hearken to me?
Said Gandalf.
Do you not ask for help?
He lifted his staff and pointed to a high window. There the darkness seemed to clear, and through the opening could be seen, high and far, a patch of shining sky.
Not all is dark. Take courage, Lord of the Mark, for better help you will not find. No counsel have I to give to those that despair, yet counsel I could give, and words I could speak to you. Will you hear them? They are not for all ears. I bid you come out before your doors, and look abroad. Too long have you sat in the shadows, and trusted to twisted tales, and crooked promptings.